Hello everyone, please press subscribe, press follow, press the bell so you don't miss any new clips. Astral Pets Store. Author by Ancient She. Audio novels by Novelist. Astral Pets Store. Chapter 131 Putting on the Agenda. As the Inferno Dragon entered the growth period, its strength had increased drastically to the 5th rank. When the Inferno Dragon reached adulthood, its strength would reach the 7th rank. On this front, the Inferno Dragon was developing through the same stages as the other dragons. However, there was one thing different. The Inferno Dragon could display more powerful abilities than dragons of the same rank. A 5th rank Inferno Dragon could easily defeat the other 6th rank beasts. Even some 6th rank beasts of the demon family that were more violent would be at a disadvantage when compared to the Inferno Dragon. For dragons, to fight creatures of higher ranks was common. Dragons that couldn't pull this off were useless. Su Ping's Inferno Dragon had spent almost all of its short childhood in the Dragon King's heritage ground. For 1/3 of this time, the Inferno Dragon had stayed inside the Dragon Pillar, confronting the attacks and threats of the Dragon King's remnant soul. For the remaining 2/3 of the time, the Inferno Dragon had been fighting against various beasts inside the Dragon Scale lands with Su Ping. While the Inferno Dragon had been born not long before, in about less than half a month, even including the time spent in the cultivation site, the Inferno Dragon had experienced hundreds of battles of various scales and had died over 100 times. Compared to the other dragons of the same growth period, the Inferno Dragon had more than 10 times the combat experience. Even some adult dragons would be inferior to the Inferno Dragon in combat experience. After all, for most dragons, they would enjoy smooth sailing after surviving the difficult period in their infancy stage. Thanks to this rich experience, the Inferno Dragon had picked many combat skills and abilities. It could defeat other Inferno Dragons of the 5th rank with ease and even be well matched against dragons of the 6th rank. If the Inferno Dragon were to compete against other average beasts, it would be within the Inferno Dragon's abilities to fight against a 7th rank beast after a fashion. Also, the 7th rank beast might not be able to defeat or kill the Inferno Dragon if the latter was committed to getting away. Su Ping cast an identification spell and saw that the Inferno Dragon's aptitude had increased a bit. With further progress, the Inferno Dragon's aptitude could reach the below-average grade. Compared to all the Inferno Dragons born since the initial chaos, Su Ping's Inferno Dragon could be regarded as excellent if it had a below-average aptitude. In addition to the Inferno Dragon, the Purple Python and the Dark Dragon Hound had experienced great changes as well. Having reached the growth stage, the Purple Python was close to 6 meters long and had reached the 4th rank as well. Pets of the combat family usually were the weakest among all pets of the same rank but of other families. But this Purple Python was different. It could even entrap and kill a beast of the element family at the intermediate position of the 5th rank. The Purple Python's purple and cyan-colored snake scales had become particularly resistant to outside forces, due to experiences accumulated in many extreme environments of the Dragon Scale lands. The Purple Python could fend off the usual attacks with fire, thunder, and poison. The Purple Python was incredibly strong as well. Generally speaking, pets of the combat family didn't have a diversified portfolio of skills other than physical strength. In regards to physical strength, the Purple Python had reached the extreme. To steal the Purple Python's resolve, Su Ping gave it the roughest treatment. He would throw the Purple Python into all kinds of fatal and extreme environments. Because of that, the Purple Python had died 400 or 500 times, more than the deaths of the other pets combined. How frequently did the Purple Python die to reach such a large number of deaths within the same period of time? The Dark Dragon Hound was in the growth period to begin with, since it had evolved from the Manigam. With 7 to 8 days of training, the Dark Dragon Hound's strength had reached the 6th rank when in reality, it could compete against a pet of the demon family at the upper position of the 7th rank. The Dark Dragon Hound alone could be a dominating presence in the Phoenix Peak Academy. After dark, Su Ping called the pet owners one by one so they could go and pick up their pets the next day. Then, he closed the store and rode back home. At home, Su Ping didn't see Su Lingyu. With the help of his astral powers, he noticed that she was cultivating in her room upstairs. It was rare for her not to provoke him, or to beat around the bush to wiggle out information. Su Ping supposed it was because she had gone to the store and had understood what she could. She knew that he wouldn't answer her even if she had other questions. Therefore, she didn't show up willingly to avoid being snubbed. Su Ping was glad not to see her. He sat down for dinner. His mum went to share some neighborhood stories with him. From this, Su Ping was sure that Su Lingyu didn't tell his mother about the store. Even though he couldn't pinpoint the reason why, he was relieved. It saved him the trouble of making up a story. After all, Li Qingru had been treating him well and he could have treated Li Qingru the same way he treated Su Lingyu. If Li Qingru had to ask, explaining to her would be bothersome. After dinner, Su Ping headed upstairs to cultivate. A mundane night zipped by. The next day, the siblings had breakfast together and parted ways. Su Ping realized that it was Monday when he saw Su Lingyu leave for the academy. When he rode to the store, the long queue was not there. There were still some customers. About 7 or 8 were waiting for him. Mr. Su. Those people ran to him when they saw him. It seemed that they were quite anxious. Su Ping recognized some familiar faces, but for a moment, he couldn't recall their names. He nodded and went to open the door. Su Ping reminded them, "Those who come to pick up pets line up first." 5 of the students stood in a line at once. They were all familiar with Su Ping's rules. Mr. Su. The first one was Zhang Baixing. After he said the name of his pet, he asked an additional question, "Are you going to give a lecture at the academy today?" The other students were eager to find out the answer as well. Su Ping shook his head. "My lecture is on Wednesday." Oh, they were disappointed, but soon, they realized that they had dug out information about Su Ping's lecture. This was an important piece of news. For first graders, this was sensational news. After all, Su Ping's lecture was available to first graders. Su Ping took out their pets one by one. They were surprised and delighted to find the amazing progress their pets had made after some tests. After they expressed their appreciation to Su Ping, they took their pets and got into the taxi that they had ordered in advance to head to the academy. They were making use of every bit of time to come and pick up their pets before classes began. After he sent away those students, Su Ping took care of the other 3 students' pets, which made him 120,000 coins. After all the students had left, Su Ping went back inside. Just like before, he chose some pets for the dummy trainer while he headed to the Dragon King's heritage ground himself. After an hour of training, Su Ping went back to the store and chose another batch of pets to be trained by the dummy. In the meantime, he sat down in the store and poured some water to rest for a while. Not long after, someone came. Su Ping looked up. It was the young man who came to train his wing beast. Tang Lang was surprised to see this store so empty. If he didn't see Su Ping there drinking water, Tang Lang would have thought he had entered the wrong place, or that the store had been rented to someone else. "Sir, why is there no one here today?" Su Ping raised his eyebrows. "They have classes today, don't you know?" Tang Lang stood there for a second before he realized that it was indeed Monday. He had time to visit because he had asked for a sick leave from school. Tang Lang changed to a courteous tone and asked, "Sir, can you train my pet again?" Su Ping nodded. "Give me the money first." Tang Lang was happy that Su Ping did not reject him. The former paid the 100,000 and called out his wing beast. "Sir, can you train advanced pets here?" While Tang Lang handed the wing beast to Su Ping, he threw out another question carefully. While he knew the answer, he was still hoping. If Su Ping was willing, he could have his best pet trained by Su Ping. "Not right now," Su Ping answered. Tang Lang was intrigued. "Then, when will you be able to?" Su Ping raised his eyebrows. He wanted to start training advanced pets more than anyone. Unfortunately, the service remained unlocked because he had not trained a pet that could reach an above-average aptitude. It seems that I must put preparing for professional training on the agenda, Su Ping said to himself. He answered the young man's question right after, I cannot decide the date at the moment. But I suppose within a month at the latest. Tang Lang's eyes glowed. Within a month? If that time could be shortened, then he could enjoy this service before the start of the Elite League, right? The Elite League would last for 3 months. The selections and procedures were incredibly complicated. At the beginning stages, he could get by with his pets. If later on, Su Ping's store could offer training for advanced pets, he would be more likely to stand out. Astral Pet Store. Chapter 132. Another skill book. After sending Tang Lang away, Su Ping threw the trembling wing beast inside the nursing space. There were currently many pets in the shop waiting to be handed over to their owners. Still, Su Ping had to wait for the school to end. This wasn't a big problem since there weren't many customers during the day anyway. While he waited, he simply had to use dummy trainers to train several remaining pets still waiting inside the nursing pens to free up his schedule. He summoned the system shop window to see what kind of items were being offered that day. To his disappointment, he didn't find any force pellets or beast-catching rings. A book at the edge of the window caught his attention. It was a skill book. What's this? Intermediate Pet Food Appraisal. This was the first time he had seen the system shop sell a skill book. It seemed this one was not a battle pet warrior-only skill, but more of a supportive tool. It would cost him 10,000 energy points. Does the shop sell skills for pets? He asked the system in his mind. Affirmative. That was some exciting news, even though the system made it sound dull and unemotional. A middle-rank pet skill book was worth quite a fortune. He looked at the refresh button and decided to give it a try. Since he could earn a few dozen thousand energy points daily, spending 100 points was not that much. Before that, however, he chose to purchase the appraisal skill first. He was still using the basic one he received from the system for free, which was far from enough if he wanted to identify better foodstuffs in cultivation plains. He did have some expensive items on the shelves, not because he knew what they were, but because he had randomly brought them back due to their colorful looks. With this intermediate pet food appraisal, he would be able to scavenge for better stuff while he trained pets. Using 10,000 energy points for such a skill was completely worthwhile. As long as the description of the book was correct, he would be able to use it to identify most edibles and cooking materials he could find. He bought the book, refreshed the store, and was glad to find a middle-rank beast-catching ring among the 5 new items offered. This meant the 100 energy points had been well spent. He decided to keep going. The slot with the beast-catching ring presented him with another book named Astral Telekinesis Basic. It was a skill intended for battle pet warriors. Su Ping paid 5,000 energy points for the book without a second thought. As soon as he did, he felt his brain become overwhelmed by a sudden flood of knowledge that kept his full attention. He didn't know how much time elapsed when he was out. By the time he came to, he had been focusing solely on the new skill he learned, and it made him feel uncontrollably excited. It was a powerful skill, not any lesser than killing intent, if not better. Despite being defined as basic by the system, it would work wonders if used in the right situations. Simply put, astral telekinesis allowed Su Ping to manipulate objects remotely by using his astral power. He had heard about something similar before, which was how titled battle pet warriors could unleash their unparalleled astral powers to directly control or even destroy objects in their sights. This was supposed to be an exclusive ability to titled warriors, which also served as a divider, signifying their superior strength over weaker warriors. Ordinary battle pet warriors might know how to send their astral power away from their bodies to create astral runes, which in turn indirectly affected their pets. Yet they could not move or control objects in such a way. Thrilled, Su Ping followed the instructions he had just learned and commanded his astral power to pick up an empty food bowl on the counter. He succeeded without a problem. If anyone else would have been there to watch, they would have seen the bowl floating in midair without anyone supporting it. The simple control was not enough to inflict damage on objects like titled warriors could. But it was a start. Su Ping knew he could steadily improve the skill until he could use it as a deadly attack in the future. And it's only a basic skill. Perhaps I can use this to fool people as long as they don't ask me to do more than moving stuff around. He went to the pet room and found the biggest pets he kept in the shop. Without minding their complaining looks, he used astral telekinesis to lift them off the floor. He only managed to keep 3 of them slightly above ground, then he felt his astral power was being strained to its limit. He checked the floating pets and gauged that the heaviest object he could carry should be around 3,000 kilograms, which was pretty impressive. After sending the startled pets back to their nursing pens, Su Ping returned to the front room, sweating. This is awesome. Such a force was not enough to penetrate the defense of hard-skinned astral pets if he simply used it to punch them. But what if he applied the same force onto a needle? He found a random stone outside the door and hurled it against a tree beside the shop. Using his enhanced eyesight, he saw a brief shadow flash leave behind the flying stone, before a small crater appeared in the middle of the tree trunk with a pong. Such a result was to be expected since that stone looked pretty fragile. He might do better if he used something made of metal. Man, if I ambushed someone with this, they would never know what hit him. Previously, Su Ping thought he was good enough to stand against titled battle pet warriors with the help of Little Skeleton. Then he realized he was being too naive. A real titled warrior who could ambush him from a distance would kill him before he had a chance to react. And it made him worry. It wasn't like he was being targeted by a hostile titled warrior right then, but nobody knew if some kind of misfortune would drag him into such a deadly situation someday. He had to know how to defend himself better before that happened. I need to work on my solar bulwark. As long as I get it to the 2nd rank, a stray bullet from a titled warrior would be unable to penetrate my body that easily. He returned to the shop and called up the system menu again. It would be for the best if he could find several force pellets to buy. Wait, 500 energy points. His action froze up when he saw the number displayed beside the refresh button. The system spoke in his head. Only the first 2 refreshing attempts of each day would cost 100 points. The price will increase from there. The foo. It's like some kind of cheap, knockoff mobile game, isn't it? Where did the system learn about these terrible things? He sighed and decided to take the gamble. 500 didn't sound so much as long as he could find something good. Or not. The store showed him 5 pieces of junk. He checked the button again. The next refresh would cost him 1,000 points this time. He spat and closed the menu. That was his limit. From then on, he'd remember to refresh the shop 3 times each day. Or only twice, if he was short on energy. He still needed a lot of energy points to level up the shop and the incubation pool. He couldn't afford to waste too many points on a game of luck. Since there was still some time before the academy freed the students, Su Ping closed up the shop so he could spend some time inside the Dragon King's heritage ground. While exploring, he did his best to practice his astral telekinesis against monsters. After many victories and inevitable deaths, he gradually perfected the accuracy of the skill until he became pretty good at shooting. 2 days had passed, during which Su Ping's name became increasingly known at the Phoenix Peak Academy. As his customers recommended his shop to their friends, who further spread his name to the others in their community, almost the entire academy was made aware of the expensive yet effective training services he provided. As soon as the school ended, crowds of students would all rush to his shop. And if it was the weekend, the outside of the shop would become packed with people in the early morning instead. While dealing with his business at a steady pace, Su Ping used what time he could spare to train his own pets, who all grew rapidly under his care. Soon, it was time for him to present another lesson at the academy. That day, after doing some necessary work and having lunch, he rode to the Phoenix Peak Academy at about 2 in the afternoon. The lesson had been scheduled at 3 according to Dongming Song's plan. Half an hour later, he arrived at the gate of the academy and saw 8 people standing at the entrance while looking at the phoenix statue. They all looked like students, which was strange, because students should be inside the academy right then. He didn't care though. Heading to his class was more important. Hey, you, hold up. One of the students saw him coming and called him to a stop, probably because he also looked like a student who arrived at the academy at a very wrong time. Su Ping hit the brakes and looked that way. Dude, there's this Yihao studying in your academy, right? I heard he's pretty good. Do you know him? A young man with a crew cut yelled at him in an unpleasant way. Ha, these guys are not from here. No, don't know him. Su Ping shook his head. Yihao did pay him money to reserve his services, though that hardly made them acquaintances. He didn't have much to say about Yihao if that was what these people wanted to ask. Astral Pet Store. Chapter 133 Clash Between Academies. You don't. The crew cut guy frowned and stepped in front of Su Ping's bicycle, before he put a foot on the front wheel. He used so much force that the frame of the wheel squeaked terribly under the pressure. Kid, Yihao is the yearly tournament champion of your academy, and you're telling me you don't know him. Don't give me that shit. The offender looked as if he wanted to pull his hands out of his pockets and punch Su Ping already. But he was stopped by one of his companions, who called to him with a cold voice, "Don't cause trouble, Dai Yan." Dai Yan frowned again and stepped away, after which he gave Su Ping a threatening stare. Don't mess with me like that, kid, or I'll show you. That was a bluff. He knew that he probably wouldn't meet this random student from another academy again. Su Ping didn't answer because he had been checking his wheel. Next, he slowly looked up and glared at the crew cut man. What ya looking at? The man didn't get to finish his words when his body left the ground, before being slammed back down by an invisible force as if a wrestler was pummeling him. It happened too fast that he never had any time to prepare his astral power to defend his body. He coughed up a puddle of blood under the shock and gasped for air on the floor. HMPH. Su Ping looked elsewhere and rode away. Someone had damaged his bike, so he wanted some payback. As simple as that. Dai Yan's partners were still recovering from what they had just seen. Dai Yan was one of their stronger members, yet he got squashed under a second without anyone touching him. You stop right there. A shorter, plump-bodied man rushed behind Su Ping. Su Ping scowled impatiently and looked back, only to see all 7 of them rushing to surround him. Dai Yan exhaled a painful breath while resting on the shoulder of his friend. He gave Su Ping a hateful stare. Playing dirty with me, huh? He didn't see Su Ping moving at all. The only explanation he could think of was that Su Ping used some kind of secret move. Meanwhile, the other 7 people carefully inspected Su Ping from head to toe. If Su Ping could beat up Dai Yan so badly, even by using hidden tricks, they wouldn't treat him lightly. A man with a bulky build spoke next. You be quiet, Dai Yan. We came to prepare for the coming contest, not to pick up fights. People will laugh at us if anyone saw you getting crushed at the front door of their academy. Crush? He was the one playing dirty tricks first. What would you do in my shoes, huh? Dai Yan yelled back. HMPH. Getting ambushed so easily only means that you're weak. The bulky man looked at Su Ping again. You. Tell me your name. I'll challenge you. Seeing their strong friend making such a decision, the others silently gave Su Ping a sympathetic look. By then, Su Ping more or less knew what these people were doing, which was not his concern. I'm in a hurry here. Move along. You hit our guy, and you want to get away with it. The bulky man gave Su Ping a mocking smile while not moving out of his way. Su Ping sighed. Trouble never ends, eh? He hopped off the bicycle, parked it aside, and turned around to look at the group of students who probably came from another academy in the city. He soon found the biggest threat, which wasn't the big man talking to him, but another man in white who looked rather handsome by normal standards. This man was inconspicuously showing a high level of astral power. Also, he was the one who tried stopping the crew cut guy back there. Say, if I win, will the rest of you come up one by one and waste my time? Su Ping spoke to the bulky figure addressing him. Several of them laughed at that, while the bulky man raised an eyebrow in bewilderment. You got guts, kid. Do you think you can actually? Su Ping interrupted him with great impatience. Yes or no, just tell me already. You little. The bulky man grew furious as several blood vessels dangerously pulsed on his neck. Is this how Phoenix Peak Academy acts? They're a fun bunch, you know that. A man teased. Yeah. Are all the students like this guy? Cute. Hey, Bear, he doesn't give a shit about ya, see that? I never thought I'd see something like this in my life, huh? Boy kid, do your worst. If you can beat up Bear, I'll have some fun with you next. Su Ping shook his head while listening to the unproductive gibberish. Then he looked at the man in white, who had remained quiet all this time. Can you tell me, if I deal with this big one, will you leave me alone? Luo Fengtian wasn't expecting Su Ping to suddenly talk to him. He saw Su Ping's serious look and felt something was off. No, I'm afraid not. For the love of, fine. Hey, you lots. Come at me together, will you? Don't keep me waiting. Su Ping's careless words silenced everyone. Together. They thought Su Ping was being cocky enough by speaking to their bulky partner so rudely. They weren't expecting for things to take another turn for the worse. They were the top 8 of their academy when it came to fighting. Someone wished to challenge them to a group fight alone. This was so stupid. Every one of them looked pissed off when Su Ping taunted all of them so openly, including Diane, who couldn't believe that such a madman had just wounded him. Astral Pet Store. Chapter 134 Brutality. Kid, do you even know who you're talking to? A young man with short hair said, his face clouded. The other good-looking young man bellowed, why are you wasting time here? I will write my name Wong Mukyu backward if we don't beat the hell out of him. Knock it off. Kid. Go ahead. The bulky young man's eyes were filled with chilling coldness. He paid no heed to his pals. Astral powers surged out of him violently. He didn't make any moves and yet, patterns indicating augmentation skills knitted with astral powers seeped out from all around his body and covered him up. This mastery of augmentation astral patterns was enough to demonstrate the power of a star student at school. Since the bear was being serious, the other students stopped joking around. They stepped back to leave enough room for the bear. Su Ping challenged them to attack him together. However, those students would not gang up against a nobody when they were so much more powerful. They would humiliate their academy by doing so and people would laugh their heads off. While Diane walked back, he snarled savagely. Teach him a lesson. The others stood about 7 to 8 meters away. They watched Su Ping with cool-hearted eyes, waiting for him to beg for mercy. Su Ping was not happy since the others were stepping away. He had made his intention perfectly clear. Why would they want to fight him one by one? This was a waste of time. Come on, do it. The bulky young man growled at Su Ping, who remained still. The bulky young man would not be so arrogant if he were facing Yi Hao. However, apart from that Yi Hao, there was no worthy opponent as the bulky young man saw it. Besides, he was ready. He told Su Ping to make the first move to show the latter that having a head start would be of no use to him. Su Ping cast his eyes on him. Coldness rose in his eyes. Piss off. He didn't even lift his hand. Hardly had his voice faded away when the bulky young man was knocked away and smashed into the person behind him. This person was a star student as well. He reacted fast. After the initial shock that lasted for a mere instant, he raised his hands to catch the bulky young man. However, the heavy force spread across from the bulky young man surprised him. He carried the bulky man in his hands and was forced backward several steps before he managed to stabilize himself and stop. Everything happened in a split of a second. Everyone was watching but none of them saw how Su Ping did it. What? They all stood there, dumbstruck. For all this time, Luo Fengtian's expressions remained unchanged. But at this moment, surprise froze on his face. Soon, something came to his mind that frightened him. But he dismissed that idea quickly. After all, Su Ping appeared to be quite young. Which student could reach that level at such a young age? If a student could make this accomplishment, then that student could win the championship of the Global Elite League without participating in any match. Completely stupefied, the bulky young man stared at Su Ping, who was so close to him just a second ago but was over 10 meters away right then. The bulky young man didn't see Su Ping take action, either. In that previous moment, he felt a state of weightlessness. By the time he came back to his senses, there was no place that he could hold on to. He couldn't avoid being knocked away. If it weren't for that person that caught him, he would have fallen embarrassingly. After a short moment of silence, the bulky young man finally felt his feet touch the ground. He was still in shock because Su Ping's attack was utterly strange. In this one round alone, the bulky young man was at a disadvantage. Evidently, he was facing a formidable opponent, not someone that was slightly better than the average student that they had thought. I didn't know that apart from Yi Hao, we could find a brutal guy like you in the Phoenix Peak Academy. The bulky young man collected himself. Instead of retreating, he was burning with the desire to fight and his blood was boiling. He took one step forward and the ground was trembling. The pet space opened up in front of him rapidly. A clawed golden bear landed on the ground. This was a pet that had an 8th rank bloodline. Right then, this clawed golden bear had reached the upper position of the 5th rank, and was quite aggressive. Roar. As soon as the clawed golden bear came out, it received a clear sense of its master's wrath. The clawed golden bear bellowed at Su Ping. The loud roar was brimming with rage and threat. A bear roar was an average skill of deterrent nature. Nevertheless, this skill could still terrorize weaker pets of the same rank. The sound of this roar was loud and clear. Su Ping felt the tranquil pool of blood inside of him was disturbed slightly. What he felt at the cultivation sites was woken up. That feeling of madness and killing free from inhibitions. He would not mind death, nor harm, just to kill. Su Ping didn't realize this himself, but the look in his eyes had changed. Instead of a normal, restrained look, his eyes had changed to what they would look like when he fought battles in the cultivation sites. Cold, bloodthirsty, cruel, and indifferent. It was as if those eyes looked down on all life forms, as if none of them mattered. The clawed golden bear that had just finished roaring established eye contact with its game. The anger in its simple mind was frozen by something. An unspeakable feeling of danger gave the clawed golden bear a chilly feeling. The clawed golden bear felt such danger that it wanted to turn and run away with its master. While the clawed golden bear remained still, Su Ping made his move. He didn't summon any pets. He stomped on the ground and shot himself out like a human-sized cannon. He was so fast that his speed could match a pet of the 5th rank with a particular skill in speed. With lightning speed, Su Ping had reached the clawed golden bear. The clawed golden bear was well within his reach. Their faces almost rubbed against each other. One was a good-looking human face and the other face had a huge bear mouth with sharp fangs. Anyone would believe that the human should be the one afraid. Yet, fear was found in the bear's face. Those sharp fangs were shaking. Bang! Su Ping punched out instantly. His move was violent as he punched the clawed golden bear's belly. With some cracking sound of bones breaking, the clawed golden bear hunched its back. Its internal organs must have ruptured. Amid many battles of different magnitude, Su Ping had become rather familiar with the physical structure of beasts. With one punch, he had badly mauled the clawed golden bear and disabled it. But this wasn't a fatal death. If he were aiming for the kill, Su Ping would have hacked below the clawed golden bear's neck with his hand. His nails were sharper than knives and he could tear open skins and pierce into opponents' heads with his nails. He put down his hand. The clawed golden bear had not fallen. It was still shaking. Taking advantage of this moment, Su Ping went past the clawed golden bear and reached the bulky young man. The bulky young man had not realized that had happened. When he saw Su Ping, the bulky young man was taken aback. Then, out of fear, the bulky young man raised his hand to defend himself. But Su Ping was faster. Taking advantage of the window of time when the bulky young man was raising his hands, Su Ping grabbed the bulky young man by the neck. Then Su Ping threw the young man away. The latter was smashed into another person nearby. Those whose sights were not blocked by the clawed golden bear witnessed what had happened and they were appalled. How did Su Ping defeat a 5th-rank clawed golden bear with his bare hands? The clawed golden bear was a pet known for its brute force and strong defense. Among pets of the same rank, clawed golden bears could be regarded as remarkable. The young man called Bear had been devoting much effort to train this clawed golden bear. Even though the clawed golden bear was at the 5th rank, it could compete against a pet at the upper position of the 6th rank. How could such a pet fall under the impact of one punch from Su Ping? What was that? This method of combat was utterly odd. Generally speaking, battle pet warriors should hide behind pets to assist them, right? Since when would battle pet warriors beat up pets themselves? Standing on the side, Luo Fengtian was astonished. What happened just then disrupted his worldview. No average student could defeat a 5th-rank clawed golden bear with his bare hands. Luo Fengtian would find this acceptable if Su Ping were an 8th-rank battle pet warrior. But Su Ping appeared to be of their age. There was no way he was an 8th-rank battle pet warrior. Could it be that Su Ping was one of those body skill battle pet warriors that were few and far between and unpopular? But hadn't body skill battle pet warriors died out? There was little time for Luo Fengtian to indulge in his thoughts. Even Bear had been defeated by Su Ping. Luo Fengtian had to solve the matter himself. Otherwise, they would be too ashamed to enter the gate of the Phoenix Peak Academy if they were defeated right outside the gate when they had been invited for an academic exchange. Whoosh! Luo Fengtian released the astral powers that he had been hiding. He unleashed his full power. Faced with a powerful enemy like Su Ping, to fake any longer would mean to court death. When he released his astral powers in full, the others around him were shocked. The strength of his astral powers had reached the 6th rank. They were from the same school and Luo Fengtian had reached the 6th rank. One more rank forward and Luo Fengtian would become an advanced battle pet warrior. With a 6th rank strength, Luo Fengtian could be comparable to some senior elite explorers. The number of advanced battle pet warriors was small in the entire base city. As for 8th rank battle pet warriors, the number was within the 2 digits. Astral Pet Store. Chapter 135 The Might of a Dragon. I'm taking you on next. Luo Fengtian fully exposed his astral power and summoned his pet space. An astral vortex rose from his chest, from which a symbolic roar that suggested a formidable dragon monster was heard. A dragon's head slowly emerged from the vortex, followed by its glossy neck protected by lustrous black scales and spikes. By the time its entire body had moved out of the pet space, the creature had blocked most sunlight from everyone with its large wings. It was an adult dragon-type astral pet. To be precise, it was a black pit dragon, one of the strongest species among all dragon types who loved feeding on wounded prey that was still breathing. Luo Fengtian's teammates were clearly not strangers to the dragon, who only looked a bit surprised by Luo Fengtian's decision. Then they quickly retreated somewhere farther so they didn't get hurt by whatever was coming next. Su Ping felt the mighty aura of the dragon and also looked that way, though the impassive killing intent in his eyes never went away. He had defeated countless dragon souls created by a dragon king in the Dragon Tower, all of whom carried doughty auras as deadly as the one he felt from this black dragon, if not stronger. Using his experience, Su Ping quickly recognized the black pit dragon as a 7th-rank astral pet. But unlike Yi Hao's Thunder Basilisk, this dragon possessed a far superior bloodline. Luo boss, are you sure about this? A man watching nearby stuttered, someone's gonna die. He immediately stepped down in fear when he saw the dragon looking at him. Luo Fengtian didn't answer, for he had to stay fully concentrated in order to hold his black pit dragon under control. I'll give you one chance to surrender and apologize, he told Su Ping in a low voice. Su Ping looked away from the dragon and gazed at Luo Fengtian. He was confident that he could take down Luo Fengtian by force. But that would prove to be difficult with the dragon in the way. The rational nature of a battle pet warrior soon kicked in, telling him the correct course of action. With a flicker of his mind, Su Ping's pet space opened up, by which time all people present heard a dragon roar once again, which surprised them more than the last time. They saw another dragon head entering their view from Su Ping's pet space, which looked as ferocious as the black dragon. Although this one had smaller, crimson scales that looked like agate gems instead. As soon as the second dragon reached the exterior, the entire ground outside the academy gate was bathed under a strong smell of blood, as if a brutal war had just passed through. The ground quaked as the dragon landed its claws on the ground. It then spread its red wings and aroused a forceful gale mixed with the smell of blood and sulfur that infiltrated everyone's nostrils. The Inferno dragon lifted its head higher and howled into the sky, causing several stray embers to come off its scaled body. Those brave enough to watch stared in awe as they both admired and feared one of the strongest dragon-type astral pets known to that day. No one had recently checked the dragon ranking list, though they were sure an Inferno dragon was better than a black pit dragon. Dragons were already rare in this world. Being one rank lower meant a black pit dragon would fall very far behind when it came to direct confrontations. This was already proven as the black pit dragon no longer looked proud and noble against the presence of a rival. Currently, it was silently gazing at the Inferno dragon as carefully as it could. As soon as the Inferno dragon fully left Su Ping's pet space, the black pit dragon braced itself in fear. Its loose and slackened scales were firmly clasped against its skin. This was a typical reaction of dragons who felt threatened. Luo Fengtian, on the other hand, had his solid stance completely broken down as he saw what was happening. Before this day, he thought that his black pit dragon had no rivals in the entire Longjiang city. With its help, he could do whatever he saw fit as long as he didn't provoke a legendary pet warrior. But he just saw otherwise. He knew an Inferno dragon was rarer, mightier and more precious compared to his black dragon. Since both dragons were adults, they didn't need to fight to know the result. Since it was known by humans, the status and strengths of dragons were always highly restricted by their social ranks, rather than their growth and techniques. A lower dragon had zero chances of fighting against a superior one. They either backed away, or became food. The field remained quiet for a long while as nobody made a sound. Whereas the black pit dragon was still assessing the situation warily, the Inferno dragon appeared rather relaxed. More like, it had not attacked just because Su Ping didn't allow it to yet. The Inferno dragon spent most of its early days under the constant pressure of a dragon king's soul. A mere black pit dragon was nothing to be afraid of. Right then, the visiting students could only hear their own heartbeats, as they madly questioned what was going on in front of their eyes. They did their research before coming, yet they never found anything about an Inferno dragon. If a student in this academy owned an Inferno dragon, then how did Yi Hao become the champion? As one, they reached the same conclusion, that Su Ping had to be a secret weapon of the Phoenix Peak Academy. By some terrible coincidence, they happened to bump into such a scary foe. Even their boss was hopeless on this occasion. They probably wouldn't win even if they confronted this Inferno dragon together. And it wasn't like such a victory was something worth talking about, if they somehow made it through. Of course, Dai Yan was the most regretful soul, blaming his foolish actions at the back of his team. He only hoped that everything would pass quickly so they would all forget about it. He didn't know what his other friends thought, but he was willing to give up his ego just to get out of there. Luo Fengtian was the first one to break the silence. That handsome and confident look of his was replaced by that of a complete defeat. I lost. We are sorry. Meanwhile, he recalled his black pit dragon. The dragon never liked the narrow pet space, but right at that moment, it chose to dive back inside without a second thought. Su Ping looked around and saw everyone dodging his gaze, which meant he was finally free to leave. Sigh. Why must people talk things through with violence? He couldn't say he liked it. But that was how this world worked. Su Ping shook his head, called back his Inferno dragon, and left on his bicycle. The front gate of the academy was again peaceful, provided that people didn't mind the cracked floor, the wounded bear and its master, who didn't look well, either. The students looked at Su Ping's totally innocuous image and couldn't help but tremble again. One of them spoke to Luo Fengtian with chattering teeth. "Boss, will we still participate in their pet contest?" Those words almost made everyone jump. Pet contest. They didn't even know whether they could stand in front of that inferno dragon without flinching. Luo Fengtian's cheek twitched. He didn't answer. As the students took some time wallowing about their saddening defeat, a luxurious-looking vehicle entered their view and stopped in front of the academy gate. 3 figures stepped off from the car: a white-haired man near his 60s, a middle-aged man in a plain uniform suit, and a young teenage lady wearing a casual, denim top who was smiling sweetly. The students quickly went out of their way to address them. "Mr. Vice Principal." "Hello, Director." The old man returned a kind smile. "Sorry to keep you waiting, my boys. Do your best over there. I'll be cheering." The encouraging words further contributed to their embarrassment. End of the chapter. Astral Pets Store will be read in 5 chapters for every Monday, Wednesday, Friday and Sunday. Please leave this sound novel and press subscribe, follow, and the bell so you don't miss any new clips as well. See you.